I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street. There's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it.
And now, live from Canton, Ohio.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
It's the Schiffer Report.
Obama is a radical communist, and I think it's becoming clear. That's what I told people in Illinois, and now everybody realizes it's true. The man is an abomination. He is someone who has actually advocated infanticide.
With your host, Paul Schiffer.
I will be proud to lead you wonderful guys into battle anytime, anywhere.
Opposing socialism.
Sound crazy someplace else. We're all stocked up here.
Exposing radical Islam and all of the enemies of America.
Stand by for action.
Listening to the Schiffer Report. I'm your host, Paul Schiffer. We have my friend Chet in the studio with us, and we have Bob Bonheimer on the line. He's the head of the Stark County Tea Party Patriots. And we have Norm, Vicky, and Larry from North Carolina. Norm and Vicky are from Ohio, Larry from North Carolina. We're going to try to conference call everybody here for a little bit. On this special edition of the Schiffer Report, it's the first part of a 5 or 6 part special here on WNPQ, where we're exposing Barack Obama and his communist connections and George Soros and his money, that's his billions of dollars, is being used to fund these leftist socialist groups that are undermining capitalism and freedom in this country. And one of the books we're referring to, it just came out last week. I have a copy of it in front of me. So does Chet. It's called Barack Obama and the Enemies Within by Trevor Loudon. I'm going to try to conference call everyone right now. Norm, welcome to the Schiffer Report.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. I couldn't get through to Vicky or Larry. Let me try them. Wait. Vaughn, all lines aren't working. So right now we'll just stick with Bob and Norm. Norm, your insights on this. I want to make clear to the audience you were one of the ones that went on this trip down there in Washington, D.C. Go ahead, your insights, your thoughts.
Well, I knew we were in trouble as a nation as I followed this through the years. And going down there, you fellas and ladies, really brought it to the forefront for me. And I was rather startled and shocked, a lot of the information that not only handed out, but the speakers gave to us. And some of the things I was going through today, I want to make sure it's okay to say these things. It's material by Cliff Kincaid from October 20th, 2011. It's okay to bring that up, and it's about the Union.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, it's a woman's name is Nussbaum. And I was surprised when I was reading through this material today, some of the things she's been involved in. I have to almost read it verbatim. It says, most interesting part of this story that we're going to talk about here, however, is one of the AFL-CIO affiliates behind the campaign, the Working America Group, is headed by a veteran of the Venceremos Brigades to Cuba, progressive activist by the name of Karen Nussbaum. Okay, so she was involved with that, and she went to Cuba, I guess, at least one time, maybe two, and she learned about the revolution in Cuba. She thought that Castro and his minions were just great people, and she liked cutting the sugar cane with them, and she wanted to be in the fields with them to learn what they're all about. I did take down some things further in the article. Mr. Kincaid tried to interview her. It was conducted in 2003, published in 2004. Nussbaum talked about her involvement in the communist movement, noting her exposure to groups like the Young People's Socialist League and the SDS at colleges. She became a member of the Black Panther Support Committee a group in support of the black militants who target police officers as pigs, before going to Cuba as a member of the Venceremos brigades. She admits there were a lot of weathermen who were in the brigade and a huge array of young leftists. What's more, she found Cuba exciting and wonderful. It was thrilling, she said. It was a society that was combating racism, that had provided free health care and education care to every person in society, and she goes on and on. I won't continue any more on that, but we all know what really goes on in Cuba and how they extinguish their own citizens, and they don't have any health care. They have very little of anything. I've been on trips, and I've met many Cubans, and for some odd reason, they're willing to almost swim that 90 miles to get to Florida. So to say it's so wonderful as she claims to be, I'd have to disagree.
You're right. This Nussbaum that you're talking about, Karen Nussbaum, is one of the... There's a PR person for the AFL-CIO, and it used to be an anti-communist union. They've been taken over by the communists, Norm and Bob and Chet, and run by this radical communist, by Karen Nussbaum. She's a friend and associate of Barack Obama, is helping with Obama's re-election campaign, and this is some more of the information that received last week about how this communist Nussbaum with the AFL-CIO is behind a lot of the socialist demonstrations there around the country, especially on Wall Street and in Washington, D.C. And there's many other of these people, as documented in this FBI briefing that I have here. Every one of us talking received all of this material, declassified U.S. government intelligence information regarding the communist foreign connections of the Weather Underground. And a lot of the people involved with the leadership of these groups, Bob, Norm, and Chet, you know, we're the leaders of the Weather Underground, the communist terrorist group, are all part of the progressives for Obama.
Yeah, and it's amazing how these people have just gathered themselves together in locations, like Norm was saying there with the AFL-CIO. You know, there's an organization that at one time was really the epitome of the American strength. It was the strength of the American worker. And now it's going to be the strength of the American worker. So it's scary how these people will find a way to wiggle themselves into the places they know that are the power. I mean, we really, you know, we gave up watching for communists, you know, about 15 years ago, and I think we should look even harder than we did before.
Absolutely. They're all back, and one of the reasons why, as we all heard in D.C. last Thursday, Cliff Kincaid's event, is that a lot of these congressional committees that used to look into communist infiltration of our government in the House and Senate during the 1940s, 50s, 60s, 70s were shut down by the liberal Democrats. All these committee hearings were eliminated, and by the liberals who have an agenda. They didn't want these type of people exposed, and this has given them more of an ability to come back and wreak havoc on our country. And we need to, one of the things that needs to be done, Norm, Bob, and Chet, is to reestablish these congressional and Senate committees that investigate communist infiltration of our government. We don't have that anymore, believe it or not, and we need to bring that back. Your thoughts? Go ahead. If I can interject about the one book you mentioned, Barack Obama and the Enemies Within by Trevor Lawton. He is from New Zealand, and you wonder, why is an expert on all this from New Zealand? And he had a story to tell, if you remember, if we could just mention it briefly, that back in 1970, the Progressive Liberal Labour Party was swept into office in New Zealand, and they banned the porting of any nuclear ships from the United States. And it was his contention that if the United States goes, New Zealand is going to be vulnerable to the communist threat as well. So our health economically, our health politically, it really is going to affect them as well. And this is why Trevor Loudon has written this book and written all the different communist connections that are involving
this country, particularly the so-called progressive party of the Democrats and the person occupying in the executive branch right now.
Yeah.
And, he researched this out, and he's done it for 25 years. And you wonder, in the age of political correctness, in the age of not teaching history in the public schools, we've seen the dumbing down of America, and we see people even in their 50s that think that communism is really not all that bad, because in this country you have a right to believe what you want to. Well, you have a right to believe in cancer too, I suppose. You shouldn't believe in a system that's actively destroying the capitalist society that's creating the jobs in the last 200 years.
Well, you make a good point, Bob, Chet, Norm. Nobody, even though we have freedom of speech, nobody is permitted by law to go out there and start waving the Nazi flag.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocated that anybody should.
Right.
Okay? But nobody's doing that, and if anybody did, they'd be shut down immediately. Well, these people are promoting an ideology that is as evil or more evil than Nazism. Communism, Marxism, is a philosophy and a belief, an atheistic, barbaric belief that has led to the slaughter of close to 90 million people around the globe since 1917. Why are these people allowed to be communist and infiltrate our government and march up and down Washington, D.C. and Wall Street? And that's fine, but you can't be a Nazi and do it. And again, I'm not advocating that Nazis be allowed to do this. I'm just making the point that communism is an evil, repugnant philosophy that has led to the death of millions of people. It promotes genocide, and yet this is allowed.
But people with a leftist view, they don't call themselves communists. At least they have that amount of sensitivity.
They know, though. They know what it is.
But they occupy the news media. They occupy the graduate schools of this country. And also it was brought out about how the law schools in our country are shifting to a more leftist agenda, and there's no conservative schools. Now, What is our country to reap from all this?
Well, Bob, what I want to do here, because we have a few people that want to get on the line, and for some reason the conference calling only allows 2 people at a time. So very quickly here in the next few minutes, I'd like, Norm, for you to go ahead and summarize some, your final thoughts on what you think the listening audience should be left with as far as information from last Thursday when we went down there. And Bob, you can conclude also. Go ahead, because we want to start putting these other callers on. Go ahead.
I was glad to hear, I saw Mr. Loudon made some statements where he said he's glad to see that the Tea Parties do exist here in America. He's glad to see that we're pushing back against the system.
Right.
And I was impressed. He got pretty choked up because of what Chet said there, that what was going on, and that would be the end of them if we don't fight back. And he said, we can't quit. The world is relying on the U.S. The Tea Parties must stay involved. To keep our liberty, our freedom, and our personal property, we must restore the Constitution of the Republic. That's all I have to say.
Okay, thanks. Thanks a lot, Norm. Norm Falks, he went on the trip with us to Washington, D.C., another American patriot and a Vietnam veteran. Bob, your final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with what Norm's saying there. Trevor was amazing in the fact that you can tell that he truly does have a love for our country as well as his own country. And it was fascinating to see somebody draw attention to, if you will, the old domino effect, that if one falls, another may fall, another may fall. And that's where we need to be so much more in tune. Right now that park may fall. So those people that are occupying it, that city may fall. We really need to be aware and ready and willing to stand against this stuff, because if we don't take a stand now to protect our cities, our communities, they will be turned into something we would never recognize. And I am willing to be one of those 25 million they want to get rid of, because I will never allow them to take my nation away from me. My republic will stand as long as there is only one light breath left in my body.
Same here, Bob. Great, brave thoughts there. You're a brave man, and we need more people like yourself and Norm and Chet and everybody out there. There are millions of us, by the way. You know that, Bob, who are willing to give her life for our country, and we may have to do that at some point. I wish more people would wake up now. You're listening to the Schiffer Report. Thanks for joining us, Bob. Bob Bonheimer, the head of the Stark County Tea Party Patriots. Remember to visit his website, starkcountyteapartypatriots.com. When we come back, we'll be joined by Vicky from Bedford and Larry from North Carolina. You're listening to the Schiffer Report. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break. You're listening to the Schiffer Report. We're in our final 12 minutes here. We've gone, it's hard to believe, Chet, close to an hour and a half with the broadcast tonight, talking about, this is the first installation of 5 or 6 parts on the Schiffer Report here at WNPQ, dealing with Barack Obama and his communist connections, and George Soros, the multi-billionaire hedge fund predator, the multi-billionaire that's been very generously giving his money to all of these left-wing socialist groups that are involved with undermining our country and destroying capitalism here in the United States of America. And we'd like to thank for this broadcast and the next 5 or 6 broadcasts, Cliff Kincaid of Accuracy in Media and America's Survival, Inc., for throwing this conference, putting it together in Washington, D.C., and all of the other people that will be guests on the Schiffer Report the next couple of weeks, including best-selling author Trevor Loudon. Now, we have with us Vicky from Bedford. She was there at this event last Thursday that exposed George Soros and Barack Obama. And in a few minutes, we'll have Larry on, Larry Bolts from North Carolina, who is a new addition to the Schiffer Report, who has actually been the producer of the YouTube channel, YouTube video portion of the Schiffer Report. He'll tell you how to access the Schiffer Report on YouTube. First, we go to Vicky from Bedford. You were there, Vicky. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Paul. I just wanted to comment on a couple of the speakers and things they brought to the table that were shocking, like everyone else keeps using that word through the whole thing. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Yeah. Tina Trent had brought out this movement called Ban the Box that is supported by the Department of Justice. And maybe some of your listeners know about this already, but I sure didn't. So I'd like to share what she said, that there's a re-entry movement that's founded by our enemy here, George Soros, that is providing more resources for offenders versus the victims, and that there is going to be no need for criminal knowledge for jobs in the future or renting property. And, I wasn't privy to that information before, were you?
No, I was not. I don't think any of us that went down to D.C. were privy to that part of George Soros's outreach.
Yeah, so I Googled the Ban the Box Ohio, and right on the website it states, as of September 14th, 2011, Cleveland will no longer require candidates for city jobs to disclose felony convictions on employment applications. Cleveland joins approximately 30 other cities and counties, as well as some states, in an effort to provide fair employment opportunities for all qualified candidates, including those with a criminal past. Now, I'm not here to condemn criminals in the past and what they've done, but yet these are Soros-funded organizations. She said there's over 100 organizations like this. She went on to mention many others: Rewriting America, the Palestinian Professors Program, multiple bar associations that are funded by Soros, War on Cops, and even this thing called a Cop Watch, where they train people to edit the tapes, to make it look worse, to put down the cops, and put on a new media Soros-funded program. So if you go and Google, if anyone wants to go and Google Cop Watch, you'll find what they've got out there already. It's basically a grassroots volunteer organization promoting police accountability through citizen action. And once again, similar to previous criminals, there are policemen and what have you that do step out of line and do make decisions that weren't probably very wise with the way that they affected someone that they felt was hurting another individual. But they're promoting this to basically help people make the police and our law enforcement that are out there trying to protect us look like idiots.
Yes, apparently, some of us knew about George Soros's reach into undermining the political in this country and the economic, and we went into that in detail with Chet and Norman Bob here tonight. But I did not know until this conference what you're bringing out about Soros also undermining our legal system. And basically,
you can now report the police activities right from your cell phone and text Cop Watch, and there's a certain number on the internet that you can, certain numbers here, 67553, and it's got the whole map of the U.S. on here. And they're out there to just, they're trying to get people that have nothing better to do to promote the police as the bad guys and make it, like anything they can do to help the other side. It just blows me away.
Yeah, we hope to have Tina Trent on the broadcast here within the next week or two, along with some of the other speakers at Cliff Kincaid's conference last Thursday, along with FBI informant Brandon Darby, Larry Gratwall, who used to be with the FBI, Zuby Diamond. Chet was referring to his book, The Wizards of Wall Street, and, of course, Trevor Loudon, the author of Barack Obama and the Enemies Within. In conclusion, Vicki, what else did you take away from that event last Thursday?
Well, it's Hollywood, too. Larry brought out the fact that one of our favorite fans out there, everyone loves, Robert Redford. He's going to be making a movie about the Weather Underground with familiar names such as Susan Sarandon, Julie Christie, Nick Nolte. They're going to be considered for starring roles in this movie that is clear that it's an attempt to portray a communist terrorist group, the Weather Underground, in a positive light. And the most important thing to note is that the Robert Redford Sundance Institute has received $5 million from the George Soros-funded Open Society Institute. And how appalling it is that Robert Redford is out there. And even though Larry's tried to make attempts to contact him, to enlighten him to what the Weather Underground's real purposes and goals were, he's failed to getting in touch with him. And so here's our Robert Redford out there about to make a movie that is going to look like, the complete opposite, which is a total, it's just chaos. I mean, the citizens out there don't know the things that we're talking about. So what does George Soros do? He comes out with a movie and plays trickery on their minds even more.
It's amazing. It's quite unfortunate, and that's why one of the major reasons why we have the problems we have is the media and Hollywood and the educational system are not educating the people about the truth of what's really happening behind the scenes. And I'm glad you brought that point up, Vicki. I had totally forgotten about that aspect of the conference last week about Hollywood making this new movie to portray the Weather Underground, which in actuality was a communist terrorist group, in a new light. So, well, thanks for that information. Thanks for the call. We hope to hear from you again soon here in the Schiffer Report. Okay. And with that, we go to Larry from North Carolina. Are you still there, Larry?
Yes, holding patiently.
Okay. Well, I hope you don't hold it against us here. You can.
No.
You know how to
join
turn
the
it.
show.
You can just get a hold of George Soros and let him know that there's a couple people in Canton pounding away on him. I know you won't do that. Larry, you're a new addition to the Schiffer Report, and something only a few of us have known, but you've been working very hard down there in North Carolina. You've got experience in production and radio. And tell the listening audience that there's a new dimension of the Schiffer Report that they can access now. Tell them about it.
Oh, yeah, well, it's very exciting, and it's very powerful to add to the truth shock that we specialize in. Mm-hmm. And because the first thing people do when they hear truth, they're in shock and denial. But that's good. That's part of the process of educating. But I want to invite all of our local listeners here in Canton to go on over to YouTube and check out the videos at the Schiffer Report channel at the YouTube. Now, there's two ways to get to it. You can go to go to YouTube and just put in the Schiffer Report. You'll get at the top of the page, because he has more videos than we do, there's a guy called the Schiff Report, not to be confused with ours. If you scroll down, you'll start seeing our icon, it's just called our promotional thumbnail. It's called the Schiffer Report. Then you can start catching our reports. And then there'll be a link in each and one of those videos where you can go to the actual Schiffer Report YouTube channel. And this is great because all the former radio broadcasts of the Schiffer Report, as well as the some past shows that you have done, are presented there. But we've added some visual elements to them that make them much more exciting and make them more informative and more engaging. And another addition, they'll notice while they're there at the YouTube channel, at the Schiffer Report, is the Political Cartoon Vault. These are just a compilation of the political cartoons that we featured during some of the YouTube channel videos that we compile. So that's exciting, and this has got great potential for the show, both nationally and internationally. Mm-hmm. However, this was sort of a funny thing. We featured during one of the videos the song by Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. And
which
we
played that tonight, in fact. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that video became banned in Germany.
So that episode of the Schiffer Report
they can pick up the rest. Yes, they can pick up the rest of our videos, just not listen to that one for some reason. I guess But listen, one more element is very important. If they, when they're at the channel, it's important to subscribe because they'll get email updates whenever we post a new video.
Right. We have 15 seconds left, so we'll have to let you go. So again, folks, Larry, thanks for your work there. You're the guy putting this together. They can access the Schiffer Report, the audio version on video. Go to YouTube and type in the Schiffer Report, or just Google search the Schiffer Report, and it comes up YouTube channel, the Schiffer Report. Thanks, Larry, for your help. You've been listening. We'd like to thank Vicki and Bob Bonheimer and Norm Falks and Chet here in the studio for helping us out on this part one of a 6-part series exposing George Soros and Barack Obama. We'll be back this Thursday evening, folks, at 6:30 to 8 p.m. this Thursday evening on WMPQ with my special guest, Cliff Kincaid, for part 2 of this series. God bless you. Have a great night.